So here's this corrugated roofing that I'm putting on. So I just did the first piece. I mean, there's lots of good instructional videos on this, but I feel like mine was just a little bit unique because I have this corbel molding detail on stucco. And so I got it tucked up there really nice. Had to trim just a little bit of an end piece to get it to sit flush against the wall and also square. And then I've got this, like it's flashing. They call it a wall flashing. The reason I'm doing that is this gets a lot of rain right here, and it's all going to be coming down to this point. So while I sloped this in the previous videos, in a big, I mean, we get some pretty intense rain here. It's California, so Southern California, we don't get, rain all summer. But when it rains in the winter, we've gotten some, 4-inch storms in 2 days. There's gonna be a lot of water on this. And my concern is if there's that much water where it doesn't run off that fast, I don't really want it to kind of like splash back. So I'm putting this little detail on here. It looks pretty cool. I did lay a bead of this. I did a double bead actually of butyl tape, which you can't quite see, but I've got it trimmed to, kind of like miter into that molding, that corbel detail, and then slid the sheet all the way up against the wall, like what I just did with this one. I slide it all the way against the wall, nice and tight and square, and then I'm going to go in the bottom, and I'm going to mark, because this stucco work is not really straight. So if it was wood, it's probably going to be perfectly straight, but when it's stucco, I'm going to bump it up against there, go on the bottom, and trace it with a marker, and sort of cut the profile to match the stucco. And when I cut that profile, I'll bump it back up one more time, and then I'll come to the edge, and I'll do a straight line, just about 1 inch past this 2x3, and then I'll cut it. So it's quite a few extra steps, but as you can see, it has turned out really clean, and I've just done a few screws to anchor it, but I've got obviously a lot more screws to do, so let me jump down there. Continuing, so I just cut this piece. I laid this, that's that roll of butyl, ready to go. It's not on the very end one, it's one in. You can technically do the end one, just a little nicer if you do the next hump in. This one's ready to go. I've already started the flashing right here. You can see I got a little bit more of that sealant to clean up. That's just like a outdoor, you'd say caulk, but it's a silicone based, not acrylic. And for roofing and windows and doors type of, it's for flashing. So that one, well, let's see if we can get a better lighting here. You can see that one's set in pretty good. It's also got the double row of that butyl, and I'm just going to slide this piece over, and then I'm going to keep carrying screws on this line, the end line, and more periodically where the two overlap. Looking good. All right, here's the roof. I am all finished. As you can see, all the wood is rebuilt, painted. You can check out pretty neat roof work from the bottom. Now you see the purpose of this little area, the doggy door. And really, this is actually really an area just when it's raining for my dogs to come out and use that little turf right there. Let me jump up real quick. So here's what it looks like straight ahead. I think it looks good. It's similar. I mean, it's obviously not the same as a roof tile, but it's round. So it's round and it's terracotta color. So I think it matches really good. And there's what the roof looks like. So I got that flashing put in, and I did run a bead all the way across. Probably that bead's unnecessary because, again, inside I have one more bead, and then I have 2 rows of the butyl tape that I rolled out. Each one of these pieces here, and then what I did is I ran screws at every seam. This one was a little bit tricky because what I did was I actually cut part of one of the high points, right? I cut that off, and I pretty much ended it like, let me find an end. See how this ends on a down? I ended it like part way up the up, so that way it's kind of curving up, and I sent that up curve up the wall a little bit. So that was my own way of making a bit of a flashing there. It's probably not going to need much, but in the case we get totally pounded with water and the water sloshes this direction, it won't run off the edge of the wall. The other thing I could do is put a metal L flashing right there, but you know, it's just one more thing to buy, and I thought curving it up like that actually turned out pretty cool. So I was sort of fighting that one into the corner like that, and that's why this seam looks just a little bit funny, but it's all on the butyl, so I'm very confident it's going to be watertight. And then just periodically I went ahead and did some where the seams are, but mostly the purlins are this way. So put them all in. I think it turned out sweet. And for the front one, that's a wrap. I will report if I have any issues with this, but no news is going to be good news. Well, it's another beautiful day out here. Trying to wrap up this patio cover. So take a look, I got all these boards. You saw I was painting these, painted, installed, screwed down, trimmed the edge, ran a new board on the end here, left a few screws sticking out to put some wire to rehang the delicate grapevines, which I cared a lot about. And I just installed my first sheet of the polycarbonate. So I did something a little different back here, because this has actual wind exposure. There's no wall right here. Because I'm worried about the wind getting up under, I use this side closure strip and put a screw like about every 10 inches. And then down on the bottom you can see I've got that end closure strip. And I am going to do one at the top, which probably isn't really necessary. But what I found, I've read a couple different things. A lot of people are putting them on every spot they screw down, and I actually referred to some of the manufacturer's info, and it turns out it's really for the ends, just so wind doesn't get up underneath the sheet itself. So I'm just going to do the ends, just getting these in. I got a long way to go. It's just over 20 feet. And I did extend this slightly because I had so many problems with the wood that used to be in these columns. I just kind of want the water to run off the end. So after adding all the slope, and it you know, the job kind of grew where I had to fill these with concrete rather than the wood post that was totally rotted out. I brought it, actually, as you can see, you know, a solid inch or two past the column. So now no water is going to sit on the top of this, and as a result I actually have to do multiple pieces. So the process is lay the first sheet, that's downhill, and then as you can see, this is the butyl tape. I've already run one of these where the sheets are going to overlap this way, but up here on this edge I'm gonna lay all the bottom sheets, and when I come back to do the top sheets, I'm gonna do at least a couple rows of that butyl, lay the sheet over it, and then I'll do the flashing over the second sheet. I left 3 feet. You don't really need quite that much. It needs to go between the purlins, you know, from the current purlin to the next purlin. That way it's strong. But for me, I have tons of purlins because it was you know, it's just the way that this was originally designed. So it's looking pretty good. Let me just show you a little bit from the bottom. So that piece up there, I need a little bit more, as you can see. And it's kind of a bummer. It's only really inches, but it's all good. I definitely don't want the water running on top of these again. So here's what it looks like from the bottom so far. And here's where I'm up to right now. And you can see this the Sherwin emerald paint's really nice. This probably would have lasted a lot of years, but now that it's going to be covered by the polycarbonate, I expect to get really indefinite amount of time out of this wood because it's all been thoroughly coated. And I did just pop the polycarbonate, maybe just a hair over the edge here, just to keep even a little bit more water off of those sides. So there'll be a bit of sun exposure on the wood, but not bad. And if I have to periodically get some more of that color and do the sides and the fronts, it's not a real big deal. So I'm looking to get a lot done today on a Saturday. So I'm probably gonna end this video, but definitely turning out pretty cool. And here's the top side of the roof, all finished. Turned out pretty good. You know, I had to add that additional few feet here, and then you can see my work on the flashing. So possibly this flashing may have been unnecessary. And obviously, just so you know, there's a row of the butyl, and I even did an extra row of silicone, and plus I just ran some silicone on the edge. So the silicone on the edge was really just because I had quite a bit left in the tube. So don't sweat if you see possibly any gaps. The real seal is right about where the screws are and slightly behind. But the flashing I figured would be good, right? If the water runs off of here, hits here and tries to splash back and get behind the paneling, that would be helpful, you know. So this should really keep anything from getting on the back side of it. And then I did two rows of the butyl and a row of silicone where the panels overlap, just to be especially thorough. Sealed them all in, and it looks like it should be pretty good. I'm trying not to walk on it any more than I have to, but that was kind of inevitable. So take a look at it. That's like just about 13 feet by just over 20 feet. It's a fairly big area. Keep an eye on this and report back if there's any issues. I got one more thing. I just want to neaten up the edge right here. Just make sure it's really nice and clean from the bottom. So after that, this project's going to be done. Here's the current project. These Roman columns need a lot of work, a lot of chipping and flaking. So a few pieces broke off. So going through and brushing and sanding, and then some of this needed to be filled. So filled that with a quickcrete vinyl concrete patch. And some of the seams, now that they're poured solid with concrete, it's time to fix them up. So this one's ready to be wiped off and primed. This one's a work in progress. This one was just primed. So this is what I'm using for the filler. Seems like it works really good, and just to be even more thorough, I put in, this is the, I think it's Sika brand. Silka or Sika, it's a concrete adhesive. So those are two things, and then let me show you the paint and primer I'm using. Here's that primer. Supposed to be some of the best. And then my plan is either it's Industrial Pro, both Sherwin-Williams. I'm either going to do this urethane, which is a gloss, and I should have enough, or I may go ahead and do the same as what I did on the stucco, which is Sherwin-Williams Duration in like a Greek V is the closest color. So one or the other. Let me see how this goes, and I'll update. So here's the final verdict on those columns. I think they turned out pretty amazing. Let's go take a look. So as you can see, just trying to get the light right, they have just a bit of gloss, and I'll get the sun behind me. Really nice coverage, very, very, very white. Tough to really show, but they look really good. So very happy with it. I could probably do a follow-up in a couple years, or maybe like in 1 year and then in 2 years. But this is what I recommend based on having done it. You know, just doing that, the same couple products and that same type of procedure. I think anybody would be very happy with this outcome. And just one look from over here does help to show, you know, just how super clean. I mean, the house is just that Greek villa type of color, but these are just totally white, no tint, no nothing.